for people to log in.
This meeting is being recorded.
That might be, I always hate to do that, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, but.
This meeting is being recorded. Recorded.
Okay.
Can go ahead and begin.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's such a delight to have you join us today for this incredible symposium that you're in store for. I'm Gwen Benson, Principal Investigator for Project Nurture. And again, welcome to the 2022 Summer Symposium. The Network for Urban and Rural Teachers United in Residency Engagement is a teacher quality partnership grant funded by the U.S. Department of Education with the goal of recruitment, preparation, and retention of teacher residents for urban and rural schools. So as we are aware, there are a myriad of challenges for educators today. Our theme this year is nurturing dynamic educators, and we really need to do that. We understand that through all of the challenges, you as educators continue to remain committed to the P-12 students throughout Georgia and beyond who need you the most. Our incredible team, led by Dr. Norma Green, Project Director for Nurture, has worked tirelessly to bring this symposium to you today. It was the goal of the team to provide a symposium that would address many of your concerns regarding the teaching profession and provide strategies designed to support you and your everyday efforts to provide the best for students while also considering your personal health and well-being. As we now move into our program today, I want to send out a thank you rather to our presenters, our grant partners, including Fort Valley State University, Middle Georgia State University, Douglas County School District, and Gwinnett County School District, along with our GSU Nurture team. And of course, I want to thank each of you for joining us today, and I hope you'll stay with us. So now, Dr. Joe Feinberg, Co-Principal Investigator for Project Nurture, will continue today's agenda with logistics and the introduction of today's keynote speaker. Dr. Feinberg?
Thank you, Dr. Benson. So good morning, everyone. As Dr. Benson said, we are focusing on a theme of nurturing dynamic educators. But first, I want to welcome you, and this is one of my favorite shots. By the way, this is at Georgia State University, and it's a bridge over one of our main roads on campus, but that bridge is actually our library, part of our library for student cubicles, just so you know. First thing, I added this, because it was an interesting thought that I haven't seen at our conferences. So I would like to begin this tradition where we acknowledge indigenous lands, because the history of Georgia is rich and deep, but we live on lands that were previously lived on by the Muskogee Creek Nation and the Georgia Tribe of Eastern Cherokee, as well as many other tribes. If you do a little map search, there are a lot of smaller tribes and cultures that existed here in Georgia before we did. And feel free, one other thought is if you'd like to acknowledge a tribe that you belong to or that your family or ancestors belong to, feel free to put that in the chat just so we can see the diversity and the rich heritage that I'm sure many of the participants have here in this group right now. So as Dr. Benson said, what is Project Nurture? I have to show this slide because I like my little red theme going there. Project Nurture is the network for urban and rural teachers united for residency and engagement. And so you can see where our acronym evolved from. And it's just such a powerful acronym and appropriate for what's going on with teachers and schools and everything we do. So our objectives for Project Nurture: prepare highly qualified teachers in shortage areas, support paraprofessionals to become certified teachers, partner with districts to provide professional development, and then last but not least, provide resources and support for our in-service and pre-service teachers. As Dr. Benson mentioned, we have a wealth of partners in this grant, and this is no particular order with the bubbles, just so you know. It's just basically, you know, the seed was Georgia State, and then one of our key partners was Douglas County, but we've added Gwinnett County Public Schools as well. Fort Valley State has been there with us from the beginning, as well as Middle Georgia College, and we have a large number of multiple rural districts, as that final bubble shows, with a call out to Bibb County, which is one of the larger rural districts that we are partnered with. So some of our goals for this conference, our objectives for this conference are to share the tools, and we're running with our name, to nurture effective instruction. And I think you'll see from the sessions today that this will be very nicely accomplished based on what I'm seeing in the sessions. Also provide resources to promote wellness and self-care, and we're going to explore issues of equity and access in teaching and learning. So navigating the symposium. This is where, this is a new system to me, and I imagine to many of you, because I'm pretty familiar with Zoom, and I'm so thankful that we found Aaron, or Aaron helped us do all this. And there's a lot of neat links and tools for this conference. So Aaron came up with a number of ways to navigate, and I'm going to ask Aaron to walk us through some of these really you know, useful ways to think about, and also to contact Aaron if you have any questions.
7-5.
Thank you, Dr. Feinberg. Hi, everybody. My name is Erin, and I'm very excited to be able to help with this Zoom event platform. It really does have a lot of nice features. It's very professional. So I just want to walk you through a couple of things that will make it easier for you throughout the day. In the lobby, in the main lobby, there's a chat feature. You can use this feature to leave comments, ask questions, network with your fellow attendees. And of course, I'm monitoring it on a separate computer screen over here. So if you need me immediately, you can contact me there. When you're navigating through the lobby, at the very top, you'll see, well, on the main screen, you'll see the featured sessions, which are the sessions that are not concurrent. Concurrent sessions are located under the Sessions tab at the top right-hand corner, or you can click on the button that says Explore Sessions. The speaker bios, speaker information associated with the session that they're running is located under the Speaker tab. For speakers and facilitators, this is very important. If neither of you see a start button for your session, notify me immediately. I can start them remotely. Please also leave the recording on. It is set to record automatically. If you join your session early and you would like to pause the recording, you can do that. Just make sure you have somebody designated to restart that recording. And then during the sessions, we encourage participants to have their cameras on when the screen's not being shared to have professional engagement. And you can use the chat feature to ask questions, provide useful comments. And for any speakers or facilitators or any attendee that needs me, you might want to write this information down. You'll be getting it throughout the day. You can reach me for immediate assistance at my email address or my phone number, which is listed at the bottom there. I'll also put it in the chat box. Keep that on hand so that if you do need anything right away, you can get a hold of me.
Thank you, Erin. So program overview, this is also in the lobby. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with this tool and how user-friendly it is. So, so I hope you all have had a moment to explore, but if not, don't worry. It's just scroll through it. You won't mess anything up. Click on things, you get kicked out, log right back in. I've done that numerous times just in practice. So it seems very user-friendly, and don't worry about messing up anything, because I don't think you will. So keep that in mind. Here's a brief overview of the program, a little bit modified, just so you know, we're at the welcoming, and you know, we're going to hear from our keynote speaker in just a few moments, Mr. Trent North. And then we'll have a stretch break afterwards. But I imagine we'll be so pumped up after hearing Mr. North that we'll be ready to go into the next concurrent sessions. And then we will have a lunch break at 12:15 to 1 p.m. And then we'll hear from Davin Abel, who is actually with Douglas County Schools and one of our key partners for the teacher residencies in Douglas County. At 1:40, we'll begin our next concurrent sessions, the afternoon concurrent sessions, and then some special sessions on highlighting Georgia's best. And this is at 2:40 with Jill Fields and Dr. Benson. And we've got some amazing teachers and leaders in the area who will be presenting, as you can see in the list below. And then we'll have a final call to action at around 3:10. And I will help facilitate that. Then please, you know, this is a large federal grant, as Dr. Benson mentioned, and we have reporting requirements. So please stay on and provide some evaluation for Dr. Ogletree and Dr. Hendrick at the very end, around 3:20. So let us know if you have any questions. Put things in the chat, or reach out to Aaron. A few reminders that overlap a little with what you've already heard. We encourage you to take notes, of course, and we want you to hear from you. Take advantage of the breaks, stretch, take your dog for a walk, or pets for a walk, or have fun with your family, whatever you need to do. And then manage your, keep an eye on your notifications and reminders to make sure you're on time for the sessions, and stick around for the evaluation, as I said. Aaron's also emphasized this: all the sessions will be recorded, and that way you can watch them at a future time if you need to rewatch or miss something. So now time for our keynote address, and this is Mr. Trent North, who is Superintendent for Douglas County Schools. And I'm going to stop my slideshow for just a moment because I need my notes. As much as I would have loved to have memorized what the speaker is representing and everything, I have to pull up some notes. So, oh wow, welcome everyone. So now I get to see everyone. All right, so Mr. North is going to share how will current and future teachers, school leaders, and university pre-service programs step up to meet these challenging times. In this presentation, we're going to hear Trent North, winner of the Georgia Association of Educational Leaders Vision Award for his leadership of the Douglas County school system through the pandemic and beyond. He's going to share his thoughts on what it will take to recruit and retain quality educators for all our students. How can we shift our mindsets and practices away from what we've always done to what we need to do better? Mr. North has been the superintendent of Douglas County school system since 2017. He has worked in education for many years, including at Carrollton Middle School, where he served 2 stints as principal for a total of 7 years. Mr. North holds a bachelor degree in political science, yay, social studies, and a master's degree in educational leadership from the University of West Georgia. He earned a specialist degree in leadership and curriculum from Lincoln Memorial University. He's a lifelong Georgian and deeply committed to the children and families of the state of Georgia in our regional area. So I turn it over to Mr. North. Thank you for being our keynote.
I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and if I can just get a thumbs up for somebody when the video begins that they can hear it, that would be great. There's no sound.
Hello, my name is Trent North, and I'm the superintendent
Can we
of the
hear?
Douglas County School System. I truly wish that I could be there in person with you. By the time I'm done, you're going to wish that I was there in person with you. And you're probably trying to figure out, well, why would you care whether I am here or there? Here's why. I think I'm at my best when I'm in person and I can read the nonverbals of my audience. And because I'm not there, I won't be able to read the nonverbals. So one advantage of not being there is I'm just going to assume that whatever I say, that you're going to enjoy and that you're going to laugh and smile and think to yourself, man, that superintendent is doing a great job. I wish he was here in person. So I don't do that. If you've ever been in a Baptist church, the preachers, they have these speakers and they're in front of them and they have to hear themselves. And so the speakers speaks back to them, and that helps the pastors become excited because they're hearing what you're hearing, and that motivates them. Well, that's what the audience does to someone who is very right-brained, someone who is people-oriented. We get excited from our audience. And so you get to see me for the first time having a conversation with you, sitting still and using my guideline. And keep in mind, I'm ADD, and sitting still is very difficult for me. But I'm excited. Anytime I can talk about HR, anytime I can talk about the importance of hiring and creating different pathways in order to strengthen our profession, that excites me. So a little bit about myself. I'm Trent North. I'm the superintendent of the Douglas County School System. And in Douglas County, we have 20 elementary schools, 8 middle schools, 5 traditional high schools, 4 non-traditional high schools. We have approximately 26,200 students. We are the 17th largest school system in the state of Georgia. And so most people recognize us because they say we are part of the metropolitan Georgia area. We are part of Fulton County, Cobb County, DeKalb County. So we're in the greater metro area. So a little bit about me as a superintendent. You probably wonder, so what can he share with us? And if I were you, I would always ask, so what can the individual that's speaking to me share with me? A little bit about my path. I grew up in the projects in Carrollton. I was the first of my mom and dad to graduate from high school. I was the first of my mom and dad and their brothers and sisters to attend college and graduate from college. When we lived in the projects, there was the Thomas Homes, which is an older project. And then they built the new projects, which was Davis Home. And I never forget when my family moved from the old project to the new projects. They were so sad we were leaving. I always say we started graffiti in the projects because we wrote on the outside of our apartment, we're going to miss the Reese family. Now, my last name is North because my mother's maiden name is North. My father was a Reese, Kelly Reese, but we all lived in the same household. So I grew up poor, grew up in the projects. Now, this is important. When I say poor, it's by government standards. My family, we felt like we were very wealthy. We always had what we want and never went without. And so I grew up in the projects and graduated from Carrollton City School System and went off to college with aspirations to being an attorney. I remember when I was in 8th grade, I said my goal was to be the first Black president of the United States. And so that was my goal. And you can tell that didn't happen because Obama beat me. But he and I look just alike. So whether you like him or not, I can at least say the one who beat me to it resembles me to some degree. Graduated from the University of West Georgia College with a degree in political science. And I went back to my old junior high school to become a paraprofessional. So I started off as a custodian in high school. So I was a custodian first. And then from a custodian to a paraprofessional, from a paraprofessional to a teacher, from a teacher to an administrative assistant, from an administrative assistant to a principal. I was a high school principal, an elementary school principal, a middle school principal. Now, when I say high school, I was an alternative ed high school principal. Worked at the district office. I was over HR. I was over STEM for the districts. So I've done a lot in education. But I want to talk just a little bit about the changing public schools landscape. I'm excited about our future, but I'm also nervous about our future. Let me give you some data. In the Los Angeles Unified School System, enrollment dropped 11,000. Austin, Texas, enrollment dropped 5,000. Houston, Texas, down 10,000. Texas estimates to have lost 250,000 students. And the trends were not caused by the pandemic. It's about an acceleration. So what is it that's accelerating the vast number of students that are leaving public education? And is it yours and my responsibility to stop that reduction and to figure out what's causing it so that we can protect? I believe that the key to democracy in America, I believe that the key to America remaining being number one in the world economically is public education. Now, I wouldn't say that if I didn't have data to support that. 92% of the workforce in America comes from public education. And while people like to talk about what we're not doing right, what they don't realize is that they're wrong, because if 92% of America's workforce comes from public education, and we remain the number one world power in the world, that means that public education is doing a phenomenal job. And we can never not be aware of that and never not value that. But while we're recognizing our contribution historically, we've also got to recognize the changing landscape. So the changing public schools education landscape. So how can I be an effective teacher? How can I be an effective teacher or school leader in my community in 2022 after the pandemic? Are we focusing on the right things? Or is our focus and priority to try to get back to the way it once was? And we know we can't do that because we were losing students prior to COVID. And those numbers are continue to increase. What are we supposed to be doing to prepare our schools, teachers, and students for post-pandemic education in a post-pandemic world? And what if we're wrong? What if we can't get it right? You know, I just believe that if we were together in person, there's some questions that you might ask me, and you would ask me some big picture questions. Like you may ask me, what do you think are the top 3 needs that must be addressed to help teachers be successful now? So I want to talk to you about that. The top 3 needs that teachers need to be successful is, number 1, they have to have an opportunity to be successful. And here's what I mean by that. Teachers want to get it right, and they want to do a great job. And so teachers and leaders, they've got to partner together to remove the impediments that are preventing teachers and leaders from being successful. Let me give you an example. So I love accountability. My definition of accountability is a little different than someone else's. And so the research is clear. Prior to No Child Left Behind, we had the highest growth in instruction for 25 years than we've ever had. And so it's amazing that the purpose of accountability was to increase student achievement, and it did just the opposite. And yet we were growing instruction at a faster pace prior to that. So the first thing is educators and leaders, we've got to come together, and we've got to protect the quality of the instructional time for the classroom and the instructional time for the principals. And that's going to be hard. And the reason it's difficult is because every time the General Assembly all across this country meets, they try to create new things that's going to be an impediment upon that process. And so what happens is schools believe that, well, it's not going to happen in my school, or it's not applying to me. And because we believe that, the law becomes a reality, and then it holds everybody else accountable. So number one is we've got to get on the same page and be supportive of one another. The second thing we've got to do is we've got to make sure that our teachers are ready day one. So in Douglas County, we've doubled the pre-planning days for teachers. So in lieu of having 5 days of pre-planning, we're giving our teachers 10 days of pre-planning. In lieu of waiting until new teacher orientation to give them access to the units and access to the textbooks, we're giving it to them within 5 days of their hiring date. And so we've got to create a faster way and a more efficient way to make sure teachers are ready day one. And then the third thing is we have great people like parapros who in many school systems are just as good, if not equivalent, to some of the teachers that we have. And so we've got to create alternative paths in order for them to become certified so they can do what they enjoy doing. And the reason I know they enjoy doing it is because as a parapro, I work harder than I did as a teacher for less money. So if a parapro or a non-traditional staff, if they're willing to work as hard as they are for less money, then we know that they're in their calling. And so we've got to figure out how to support them and make sure they have what they need in order to be successful. The second question you may ask me, so what does it take to be a successful teacher, leader, or administrator who will not only survive, but thrive? So in order to be a successful teacher, I just believe, number one, you've got to be a hard worker. Teaching is hard work. If you want to do it because you're going to be off in the summers, this is not the profession for you. If you want to do it so you can be in the same building with your children, this is not the profession for you. In order to be a successful teacher, you've got to have a good work ethic. That's number one. Number two, you're going to think this is crazy, but you've got to like children. If you don't like children, teaching isn't a profession for you. Because we're going to have some children that are going to push your button. They're going to challenge you. Because we're trying to sell them something abstract. We're trying to tell students that if you listen to me, I can help you get a job. We're trying to tell students, if you learn math, science, social studies, and language arts, that you're going to be a better person and you'll be able to do whatever you want to. And they live in communities where they have too many friends or relatives who have high school diplomas, who have college degrees, and they can't get a job. And so selling them something abstract isn't going to motivate them. And if you're not a hard worker, and if you don't like children, education isn't the place for you. So number one, you got to be a hard worker. Number two, you have got to like children. And then here's my first one, my last one. You got to like yourself. If you don't like you, and you're not confident with who you are and what you bring to the table, a fifth grader will eat you up. A sixth grader will make you cry. Seventh grader, not as bad. An eighth grader will make you change jobs. So you've got to like you and feel good about you, because when that child cusses or does something, you're not going to take it personal. When that mom says you're not doing right by my child and you don't like my child, you're not going to take it personal. So if you're good with you and you know that this is a calling for you, and you know that you are advocating for that child, even when he doesn't understand it, when you know you're advocating for that child, even when mom doesn't understand it, when you know that you're taking time away from your family because this child deserves it, even when they push your buttons every day, you got to be okay with that. But if you're not comfortable with you, and you don't think you're doing a great job, or if you don't think you have the skill set, education isn't the place for you. So you've got to have self-confidence in order to be successful. And so I want to talk a little bit about recruiting great educators. You know, practices that hinders the ability to attract and hire the best candidate. Number one, failing to determine and understand the needs. I love this one. You know, LeBron James is a phenomenal basketball player, whether you like him or not. When you look at his stats, if you take the name LeBron James off, if you just show his stats, majority of the individuals would say he is a great basketball player. But yet Kyrie Irving, who is also a phenomenal basketball player, doesn't want to play on the same team with him. So how is it that two great athletes can't play on the same team? And so in your schools and in your buildings, the same thing occurs. So leaders have to assess what they're looking for once the minimal requirement has been met. And I would always do that. You know, I'm right brain. My wife is left brain. We complement one another. And so we can work well on a team. Now, y'all know she tells me what to do. But statistically, because we're opposite, we work together. And so if I have two right brains team teaching in 5th grade, the emails are going to go home late. The organization isn't going to be there. The structure. And so you've got to understand and continue to always be analyzing the needs of the schools. So that's the first one. The second is you can't cast a narrow net. And here's what I mean by that. You don't hire all your teachers because they're friends of yours or friends of your friends' friends. You got to advertise the job. You got to post for it. You got to analyze those who applied. You got to do interviews. The interviews have to be equitable, same questions, similar structure, same structure, because you're trying to find the best based upon the needs that you have defined. And so when I advertise for a job, I'm always interviewing. Superintendents are always interviewing. Leaders are always interviewing. So most people don't earn the job through the interview. They earn it on the body of work that occurred prior to the interview. And so I always go into the interview with a plan B. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, sister such and such from church, and she teaches Sunday school. You may interview her, and she may be your plan B. You know that if you had to hire somebody, you have somebody. But you enter the interview saying that the best person will win the job. And then whomever, based upon their body of work, based upon references, based upon the needs of the school, that's who you hire. So you can't cast your net so small. The third thing is failing to clarify roles and responsibilities. You owe it to the person that you're hiring to be clear on what you're looking for. You owe it to them. Because we need teachers to stay in the profession. And if you hire them and you're not transparent on what roles and responsibilities are, you're misleading them. And it's going to look like they weren't successful And it may not be that they're not successful. It could have been you weren't clear on what you were looking for. And if you're not clear what you're looking for, it's going to be difficult to assess whether or not they're being successful. The next one, hiring just for the position. You don't hire just for the position. You hire for the organization. So when I'm hiring parapros, I want to know, is it somebody that I can look at becoming a teacher? Is it somebody that I can look at becoming an assistant principal, a principal? And so you're not hiring just for that position. You're hiring for the organization so that they'll have opportunities for promotion and growth. And so those are just a couple of suggestions for recruitment. And I think they're all they can help you. Making a difference and teach. In Douglas County, we hold job fairs. And our job fairs, we try very hard to make a difference through our recruitment process. And so when I talk to my staff, I then begin talking about what are signs of excellence. What does an excellent candidate look like? And so here's my favorite thing I love to say. When people tell you who they are, you need to believe them. If they come into the meeting late, don't make an excuse for them. And then when you hire them, they come to work late. When they come into your meeting not dressed professionally, you can't expect them to dress professionally for a parent meeting. If the resume is grammatically incorrect, they're telling you who they are. So if someone tells you who they are, number one, you've got to believe them. Some other signs: quick response. Great athletes, because they're good at it, they have quick response. And so teachers, when you're asking them questions, if they know what they're talking about and they've done it before, they can respond to your questions quickly. The ability to cite real-world examples. I don't want you to tell me what you saw in the textbook. Talk to me about you. Give me some real-world examples for you. They're passionate about learning. I never forget when I was in middle school principal in Carrollton, and my middle school language arts scores weren't well for, it wasn't good for 2 years in a row. And so I had 14 fourth grade teachers when I was at my former district, and I had 5, language arts teachers. And so I called all my language arts teachers into my office and asked them a very simple question. I said, so let's talk about books. So who can tell me what book you read over the summer? And not a single language arts teacher could tell me a book that they had read over the summer. So if you don't read leisurely or for pleasure, how is it that you can motivate somebody else to want to read and enjoy reading? One of my favorite, I have a couple of them, but one of my favorite 5th grade language arts teachers, she passed away. She had brain cancer. And I never forget going to her home, and her husband was a pastor, and he allowed me to go into her bedroom. And on her nightstand, she had 3 books that she was reading. And she would always come into my office and leave on my desk an article from the AJC, or she would always give me a great book that she had read. And I don't care what child I put in her classroom, special ed or regular ed, she would always have a perfect passage on the GMAT scores. But it was because she loves reading, and because it was passionate for her. So an educator, you're trying to figure out who's passionate. And they'll tell you, if you listen carefully, you're trying to sift through the ones who are seeking employment and the ones who are passionate about education. Warning signs I don't want to say a bad teacher, but warning signs of someone to not hire. So number one, they have a bad attitude. Complaining, expresses how things were better at the old job. If you listen to them, they'll tell you that they have a bad attitude. They're on Facebook talking bad about the Board of Education. They're on Facebook talking bad about their former principal. They're on Facebook complaining because they had to go to work, or complaining because they were asked to hang around because the bus was running late. You don't want to have somebody with a bad attitude. You know, the superintendent, it was just 2 weeks ago, I was just happened to be in the lobby of my board, and we had a new candidate coming in, and she was complaining because it was hot outside, and she was almost, insinuating, and it better not be hot in the orientation she was going to. And so she was telling me her attitude wasn't going to be good if things don't go her way, and yet she was able to make it through an interview. And so we've got to do a great job. Nobody wants to be around anyone with bad attitudes. And so we've got to make sure we hire people with the right attitude. And everybody's not going to be happy, positive all the time. That's not what I'm looking for. But you got to see the glass as half full and not half empty. And that's what I mean by a good attitude. People who exaggerates, that's a bad candidate. And people who are unwilling to learn and grow, we never stop growing. We never complain about that. Those are bad candidates, and that's what you want to look for in your interview. So a couple questions. Why should new teachers start their careers in the state of Georgia rather than somewhere else? Number one, we have the best teacher retirement system in the state of Georgia. You can't ask for a TRS, teacher retirement system, that's in a stronger position than anywhere else. Number two, I'm confident that our school systems, we have great partnerships with our universities. We are partnering with Georgia State, and because of that partnership, we are able to expedite with quality some of our students becoming certified. And so that's important to us. So that's number two. And the third reason, I think that Georgia is the place to come and work is because we don't need, I have nothing against unions. Please hear me, nothing. But our philosophy is, let's do the right thing because it is the right thing. And in Georgia, we take pride in advocating for and doing right by our teachers because we respect and value the important role that they play and what they do. And that's just not in Douglas County. My counterparts all across the state of Georgia, my board, we're always asking, are we making sure that our teachers have duty-free lunch? Are we making sure that our teachers have uninterrupted planning time? Are we making sure that our teachers are compensated equitably and fairly? Are we making sure that our teachers aren't stressed, that they're not overworked? We don't just say it. Making sure that our teachers are successful is something we take pride in and we work very hard to do. And we value you so much that we compensate you for getting your master's and getting your specialist and getting your doctorate. We value you so much that in Douglas County, we're giving teachers assistant principals stipends to remain in the classroom. So we're always trying to figure out how can we pay you more so that you don't have to leave the classroom in order to make additional money. That's why you should work in Georgia. So what can teachers and school leaders do to attract new talent into the field of education? You know, It's real simple, in my opinion. We have more influence over career choices than any other profession. So if a child wants to play baseball, they can watch it on television or they can play it after school, but they don't get to interact with Major League Baseball players every day. But in our profession, 92% of the workforce goes through public education. So if we enjoy our job, and if we convey that to our students, if we are excited about what we're doing, and we articulate that to our students, if we communicate to them that we want to be here, that this is what we want to do, if we express excitement and energy, people want to be a part of an organization that makes you excited or is a good place to be. So step one is we've got to be happy. We've got to want to come to work. We've got to love what we do. People want to do what others love doing. Why do you think companies spend millions of dollars marketing, using celebrities to showcase their product? Because others want to do that, and they want to make sure that in the commercials that they're happy, they're excited. Who can get excited eating those little a rice bar? But yet we create commercials, and people want to try it because they're seeing others eating it and enjoying it. So I believe that if we can take pride in our profession, and if we can come to work happy, even when it hurts, and if we can display energy, passion, and excitement about what we do, then others will want to do it as well. You know, I have an advisory group of students, and my high schoolers, they're just honest. And I'll never forget, and they would say, you know, Mr. North, can you talk to the teachers? We don't come to school to hear their problems. We don't want them coming to school always frustrated and sad about what's going on in their world. And they think they're being nice. They think they're bonding with the kids by sharing with them their heartaches or their pain. And really, what they're doing is they're deterring kids from wanting to come into our profession because they're always miserable. Nobody wants to be around miserable people. So we've got to love internally and externally what we do, and we've got to convey that. So preparation of great education. So in Douglas County is attractive to recruit who we want to live near Atlanta. But our community's own current family members, school staffers, they're important to us. But we just can't recruit from Douglas County because there's not enough. So we are a part of the Project Nurture Teacher Residency Program. And I love our Project Nurture Teacher Residency Program. It's a partnership with Georgia State University, the Douglas County School System, and, you know, it's been a train to hire. We train people to hire. We had 9 paraprofessionals, 1 substitute teacher, and 3 non-teachers with a STEM background. And they are all, I get so excited about this. Because I still remember when I got a telephone call asking if we would consider partnering with them. Superintendent, anything you can do to help strengthen your hiring pool, the better. And so all are fully certified teachers who are Masters of Arts teaching in our school system. And that just does my heart great. And so we've expanded our new teacher orientation. I'm going to spend a little bit more on the Project Nurture. There was one guy, and I thought he was a teacher. He acted like a teacher. He drove a bus for us. He was a parapro. He had a 4-year degree. Older gentleman with a beard. And I remember meeting the first cohort of Project Nurture. And I was taken aback because I just assumed he was a teacher because he did everything. And he struggled a little bit with taking the gates, and he was nervous about returning to school. But because of our partnership and the support we supplied at the district level and the patience and resilience of Georgia State, he is now a teacher. And this is the part that excites me. And here's why you should work in Georgia. So he's been a parapro for about 10 to 12 years. And now he's a teacher. So his pay is about $25,000 more than what it was as a parapro. And his retirement doesn't start over. He's going to receive full credit within our teacher retirement system because he was a parapro. And so he's still on schedule to retire on time. And his compensation will be no less than the teachers who taught for 30 years, because in Georgia, your teacher retirement is based upon your two best years. And so once you get 25 years, you can retire, and then 30 is full retirement. That's why Georgia is special, and that's why Project Nurture is important to Douglas County. I want to leave you with this. Retaining teachers and creating pathways for teachers to be successful is going to be crucial for universities and education going forward. We know, based upon data, that there are fewer teachers entering the profession than ever before. So number one, we've got to do a better job of communicating why it's beneficial and why education is a great path as a career. In Douglas County, we offer classes at all of our high schools for teachers, for students who have aspirations to become teachers. And we're encouraging them, our students, to sign up for those classes. And we're encouraging them to go to college and become a teacher. So number one, we've got to see it as a priority. Number two, we've got to continue to be innovative. The same way we are with Project Nurture. We can't continue to staff our industry based upon the way we have in the past. And number three, which is my favorite one, we've got to do a better job of supporting new teachers to make sure that they're successful. I mentioned earlier that we've doubled the number of work days, and some of the things that we're doing to try to increase the success rate of new teachers from day one. Those are just a couple ideas. I know that many of you who are watching, you have ideas as well. And so we've got to partner to make sure that public education continues to produce the overwhelming number of employees in Douglas County, in America. Always remember there are people like myself whose parents, while they were hardworking parents, and while they made sure that we had food and clothes, food on our table and clothes on our back, and while they made sure that we never didn't have our utilities of running water, or that we had heat. I didn't say air, but heat. While they were great parents, education wasn't necessarily their forte. So they did their part as a parent. It was great teachers who assisted me in becoming the person that I am today. And there are a lot of Trents and Alicias and Alexises, my two girls, and Rico and Faithy and Tabitha, my brothers and sisters, who are depending on public educators and private schools. I'm a supporter of private schools as well, and charter schools as well. I'm a supporter, I'm pro-public, but there is a space for private schools and charter schools. Let me just be very clear there. There are people like Trent and my family who are dependent upon you to come to work happy every day, well-versed, competent, passionate, and eager to fight for me, even when I'm a clown in your classroom, even when I don't want to give my best. What we do is important. Thank you for considering public education. I look forward to many of you joining what I think is the most noble career on earth. Enjoy the rest of the conference.